Hi, happy Thursday. I think I got the date right today. I'm so excited to be here with you live again. A couple of weeks ago, I did a series of lives and I loved it so much that I really wanted to jump over here and continue to share some of my tips, some of the conversations, answer questions live. And so as you jump in, just let me know where you're joining me from. As some of you may know, I'm here in Miami. It's already 9 p.m. over here. And I would love to know where you're joining me from. And today we're going to be talking about how to reconnect as a couple. Because we know, probably you already know, that after having children, things change, the dynamic changes, and there are a lot of ups and downs, and it can be really easy to fall into the routine of being a parent, and you end up pretty much being roommates. Hi Adri from Malibu. I'm dying to go to Malibu. I'm dying to go to California, and yeah, I'm gonna put it up there on my vision board because I'm just dying to go over there. But I mean, let me know for sure. I already have some of the questions that you asked, but as you stay and hear me out tonight, feel free to send me your questions, your comments. Remember that these lives are for you. These lives are conversations that to me are more meaningful than a post, than a reel, than anything that I can just write down in a minute or two and just send over to you. But again, if you don't know, I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist, okay? I'm over here in Miami, as I already mentioned, and I work both with couples, okay, on their relationship and as parents, okay? Sometimes it's very hard to separate the two. And I also work with moms who want to be more, aligned with conscious parenting and changing things at home, and are just looking for a safe space to just figure things out. Okay, so let's dive into how to reconnect with each other. Well, I was thinking right before jumping over here, because I'm a couple myself, and I've been married for 8 years, and we've been in a relationship for 10 years, and we had kids pretty quickly, right? Which is a blessing, but I was pregnant 6 months into our marriage, okay? So it was pretty quick that we didn't have, that whole, a long time before we welcomed our first daughter. And I was thinking, right, as a couple, that recently also many of the conversations that we've been having is how do we break the routine? How do we reconnect beyond, the tiredness of the day-to-day? How do we reconnect out of the same things that we do, like watching Netflix every Saturday and, ordering from the same place every Saturday? How do we find that passion again, And how can we voice our needs, like Naomi is saying over here, tips to consciously express your needs and desires to your partner in a healthy and conscious way. So that's exactly what I was going to say. How to verbalize what you're needing and missing from each other. And that's tip number 1 that I want to share. If you want to reconnect as a couple, if you want to be beyond roommates that are pretty much raising the same kids together, if you want to be beyond that, you need to start having the difficult conversations that you're not having, the uncomfortable conversations that you're not having. And sometimes that means saying things that, even as much as you speak from an I perspective and with respect and with compassion, it's still going to be difficult to hear. It's still going to be difficult to hear. Okay? And so hopefully you're in a relationship where you feel safe to express yourself from a nice perspective, meaning I'm not blaming you, I'm not pointing the finger, I'm just saying how I feel and what I am needing. So in a healthy and conscious way is pretty much, I would even start the conversation and saying, hey, I know we've been both very busy right now, or in the last week or in the last month, but I'm feeling disconnected from you. And I would love if we could set up a time, even if it's this Saturday, no Netflix, no, like we're just gonna sit, without TV, without cell phones, because I'm really wanting to talk to you and express how I've been feeling lately. And our relationship is so meaningful and you're so important to me that there are things that I think it's time that, we talk about. I don't want to be your roommate. I want to be your partner. That's how I would start that conversation. Now let me get to the other question over here. Any tips to get over the guilt when you plan to go out with your spouse and kids say they want to join? So that happens to us a lot, if not every time that we go out. My daughter, who is the oldest, she's already 6 years old. Even when we bring her favorite nanny, we have like 2 nannies that we trust, okay, that they've known pretty much since they were born. And even if it's, my dad or a grandparent, even like just right now that we left for 4 days on our trip, it wasn't easy. It wasn't easy, and sometimes they cry, and sometimes they're like, I don't want you to go, like, why can't I come, and why don't you stay home? And I tell her the truth. I say, even if I feel the guilt, which to be honest, I don't feel the guilt, but I do feel her emotion. I say, I understand, I'm gonna miss you too. I miss you too, but just like you have your play dates, and I take you to your birthdays, and I take you to your plans, this is my plan. This is what me and dad want to do. Okay? And when I come back, I'm going to hug you. I'm going to kiss you. I'm going to take you to the bathroom again. I can lay down with you for a few minutes. But right now, this is what mommy and dad need. And I would even go and explore where the guilt is coming from. Because is that attached to you feeling like the only way to be a good mom or a perfect mom is to be present 24/7. And that is never healthy. You are a person outside of your kids. You existed as individuals and as a couple before they arrived. And they will eventually leave your home. And so one of the things that I noticed when my husband and I just went on a trip last week, and it had been, I don't know if you saw the post, but it had been over 4 years that we had been alone, just the 2 of us, for that long. And it was amazing. We did not make it about being on our phones, because there were couples that I saw there. We were like, and they were just constantly on their phone, just sitting, tanning right next to each other, but on their phones. No. We were playing Uno, we were playing paddle, we were walking on the beach for a whole hour back and forth without cell phones. Like we were doing and having the conversations that we needed to have. We were having the conversations about like, where do we see ourselves in a year? How can we support each other in our businesses? Like how far we've come. We even, took the quiz on the 5 love languages, and then we had conversations about it. We really made it about how can we feel more connected, because that was the whole purpose of investing that money and time and planning this whole thing to leave the kids for 5 days. So that's my invitation to you. My invitation to you is to remember that, like, what brought you together in the first place? And again, these conversations can be uncomfortable depending on where your relationship is, because it can be anywhere from having conversation about sex, for example, intimacy. It can be a conversation about money. It can be a conversation about how you feel like you are the default parent and you want them to be more involved so that then you have more energy for them. It can be about sitting down and realizing that if you want a weekly date? Where else can you cut the budget or reorganize your budget so that you can actually make that happen? These are the real conversations that we need to be having with our partners. Let me know if you have questions as I keep going. But again, if you want to feel aligned and in sync, it's important to have the right conversations. And sometimes that will be an uncomfortable conversation. Another thing is like, the reality is that your life did change. Your reality did change because you had children and it's no longer the two of you. And even if you don't have children, okay, you still change as human beings. You grow, you mature. And the whole point is that we should bring the best out of our partner. They should feel so safe and secure with us that even if they tell us the hardest thing, we will still find a way to process it together. We should be each other's cheerleader. When we make it about winning or losing or being right all the time, you're also losing. You're absolutely also losing. Also, the fact is that as women, we are the default parent. In majority of the scenarios, someone will always be the default parent. Someone will be more present. Even if we say that we're equal, that we're both there, most likely in your reality, someone will be more present. And so if you are the default parent, then what's going to happen, which is something that we talked about today in my Mindful Mom Method group, is that you're going to feel more entitled or more right as to how to discipline or parent the children. And then what's going to happen? That your spouse is going to retract, or your partner is going to retract, and they're not going to want to be involved because no one wants to be corrected all the time. So instead, the conversation that should happen from the get-go, and not only from the get-go, but these are conversations that my partner and we revisit as often as needed. And that could be once a month, every 2 months, every 6 months. It depends like where we're at and how connected or not we're feeling. Is like, what's the purpose of the rules? Like, for example, now that the summer is going to start, our schedule is going to change because the kids are going to go to summer camp. My work schedule is going to change. So we need to sit down and talk about it again. How are we going to parent during the summer? How are we going to be a team over the summer? Okay? Don't expect for your partner to just guess. You need to have these conversations. And if you're not used to having these conversations, then the conversation to have is, hey, I've been thinking, I've been reading this book, I've been just thinking about how I want to feel more close to you. And I want to have more intentional conversations with you. How do you feel about scheduling a monthly meeting so that we can talk about how we're both feeling in our relationship? For some people, that meeting is actually, like a coaching session or a therapy session, and that's the meeting. You both show up. Okay? And yes, you are a team. You're both playing for the same team. Okay? Now, I understand that not in every relationship everyone feels safe, and I want to acknowledge that. If that's the case, then because I work with couples where we first have to get out of survival mode in order to start trusting each other. So it depends where you are or how you feel or how emotionally or physically safe you are in your relationship. There are other conversations that need to happen before that. Let me see. How do you get over the spouse potentially not wanting to show up for that meeting? Yes. So the way that I sell it, for example, I get a lot of moms that come to my meetings, either one-on-one or my group meetings, and they say like, I love this, I love all of this, I want to do all of it, like everything, I want to do it, but my spouse is not on the same page. Like, what do I do? What do I do? And I say, you need to start talking in his language. You need to start talking in their language. How do you want to make them or help them feel important and valuable in that relationship? So how can you, for example, start praising them more, saying thank you, acknowledging, noticing the things, and saying like, that you understand that this is not something that seems important to them, but it is important to you, and that you, at least if he can commit to trying it for 2 months, twice, and see if any of you notices a difference. If it's completely irrelevant and it doesn't help, then you cancel it. Okay? Again, I understand. Sometimes if your partner or spouse is not there, not interested at all, then I still want you to think about what you're missing and what you're needing. Okay? Well, my biggest tip for that is to start talking more in their language. Like, what would make it fun for them to show up? Is it like beer and a burger? Is it that you're gonna go out? Is it that, like, what is it? How is it gonna be fun for them? Okay? Let me see. Don't be afraid to talk about what isn't working. Where are you feeling disconnected? And let them know, like, that they can let you know what's not working for them either. And sometimes you're not gonna get to a solution on that same conversation. Sometimes you just first need to hear it, process that, and then come back and have a conversation about potential solutions. Especially, like, we, for, I wanna say 4 years, or almost 4 years, it was only the two of us. Only the two of us. No grandparents. It was only us. We lived outside of our country of, where we were born, and our parents didn't live here. And if it's only the two of you, then this conversation is even more important. Okay? Because it's not easy when it's only the two of you. Okay, the other questions that I got before I hopped over here were, first of all, I got some questions over about my trip that I wanted to answer here. One of the questions was kind of like related to what someone just asked here, which was like, how, if I prepared the kids for traveling, that we left for 4 nights. And yes, the answer is yes. I didn't just surprise them like 2 days before. Like, they knew, like, pretty much like a month before, that we were living, and that who they were staying with. We made a schedule and how fun it would be, and we planned like some things for them to do with the grandparent that they were staying with. And they asked all of the questions and we answered all of them. But as much as we prepared them, I don't think it synced until they realized that we really did not come back home that night. Because again, we had never left. And it's always the 4 of us going everywhere. So this was a test for them and for us, and on letting go on certain things and being okay being with other caregivers, which of course that we trust and we know that they were very well loved and taken care of. Okay? But this was also for us about letting go of control and reconnecting, and it was so exciting. It was a lot of fun. It was hard to leave. I'm not gonna lie. For me, it was hard to leave. But I loved it so much at the same time. Not to leave them, but to have time just the 2 of us. Let's see, tips on how to express your needs or points of disconnection without making him feel guilty. So I talked a little bit about this before in the beginning. Okay? We can't control how the other person is going to feel. If he feels guilty, even when you speak from an I perspective and not blaming him and saying that this is just how you feel and how it means so much, that you like your relationship and that you don't want to feel disconnected, that you value each other, but that things are not feeling, so good lately, and that you miss certain parts of your relationship. If even doing all of your best, your partner still feels guilty, angry, upset, first of all, let them have that emotion, as long as it's they express it back in a healthy way, in a respectful way. And they have to work through their own emotion. and validating them, because if their love language is words of affirmation, then most likely they will feel guilty or they will feel like resentful and hurt. And that's something then that they're gonna need a lot of validation in, saying like, it's not you, it's us. It's something that we have to work on. And I'm sure there are things that I do or that I don't do or say or don't say that you miss also, and we need to have this conversation. I'm not blaming you. I'm just saying like, I want to be more connected. He still is gonna have his emotion, just like maybe he tells you something that you don't like. But the best way, and go back and watch the replay when I post it, is to talk from an I perspective. I feel, I need, I love it. That last time 2 weeks ago when you made dinner, it was so meaningful to me. I miss our walks on the beach. How can we make that happen? Okay? Now, there's another thing that I want to tell you, and I don't want to wait until the end. I understand that having these conversations and knowing where to start and knowing how to ask for things in an intentional way and a successful way is not easy. Okay? Sometimes you don't know where to start. And this is exactly why I developed Same Page Parenting, which is already a pre-recorded conversation just like we're having, where I give you tips and tools on how to have these conversations, how to understand each other, because that's something that I haven't mentioned. You first have to understand where the other person is coming from. You need to understand where the other person is trying to parent from, connect with you from, where they are coming from, their pain points, their trigger points. You first need to start seeing things from their viewpoint. And that's what I give you inside Same Page Parenting. I also give you the tools on how to have these conversations in a respectful way. Okay? It's over an hour. It's like an hour, 15, 20 minutes. But the best part is that it comes with a guide that you print. Each of you will print it. And it has the questions exactly, specifically of what it is that you're missing in different areas of your life, how you could feel more supported by them. And you're going to write everything down, and then you're going to share it with each other. And then you're going to come with a plan together. Now, of course, this is all wonderful and great if you already have a relationship based out of respect and understanding. However, if you're feeling totally disconnected, like this isn't even gonna work, then I suggest, which is an option that you can add on a private session. If you're feeling like, well, he's not gonna wanna come, then have it for you, because you need to also understand what it is that you're trying to accomplish. Have it only for you. Don't wait for the other person to change for you to change. Don't wait for that. Sometimes when they start seeing you change, they will catch on. But nagging and repeating things is not going to help anyone. It's not going to help your relationship. Okay, someone sent me, Danny sent me a request to be on your live. I'm wondering if that was by mistake or if you wanted to ask me a question. So let me know in the comments. Okay, so the link for Same Page Parenting, okay, you're not gonna find it currently. The only place that you're gonna find it is through my website. But what I'm gonna do after we finish is that I'm gonna put it in my stories, and you can send me a DM and I'll send it straight to you. Okay? So if that's something that sounds like perfect, I need this because I have no idea where to start, how to have these conversations, how to feel connected with him, how to even understand him, and what better way that it's Thursday and you have the weekend, the long weekend, to watch it together, do the guide together, and see how you're feeling. Okay? Okay, I thought that maybe you were trying to send a question. So my point is, and again, I'll repeat it, you can send me a DM if you want the link, and as soon as I finish this, I'm gonna put the link for Same Page Parenting Masterclass also in my stories. because I want to help you. And I absolutely understand, like, let's make it real. A 20-minute live is not going to solve your problems, but it is going to be a conversation starter in saying, like, yeah, like, I want to fix this. I need help. Okay. There was another question. Okay, there was a question about cell phones. Let's be honest. Cell phones and TVs and screen time can make you feel alone and disregarded. I know, because I've been there. And here's the thing, you need to start having like rules, not like together, as to like what are gonna be your non-negotiables, which is another thing that I talk about in the class. Like, what are gonna be your non-negotiables as a couple and as a family. For example, it's super important to me that we eat without screens or cell phones when we're eating like a family, not only to give and set the example to our children, who eventually will have their own phones, not right now, but also so that we connect and show respect and actually talk to one another. I don't even take like iPads or screens like when we go out to restaurants. We talk, we play, we stand up, we color. Okay, so you first need to understand as a couple what your non-negotiables are. Okay, so if each other's cell phone or screen time is making you feel alone, most likely, I will say, after just reading this book over the last week, that your love language most likely is spending quality time together. Okay, so if spending quality time is important to you, like, where else could you connect where the cell phone is not gonna make you feel disregarded, right? Because the question was, how can we stop doing it, like being on our phones, or asking for your partner not to be on their phone like so much, if it's so important to them, right? Or that let me rephrase that, it's important to you that they're not so much on their phone and give you undivided attention, but it's not as important to them. And what I will say is, like, maybe ask them and say, hey, like, this, it kind of like hurts me. I understand that it's not that you are trying to avoid me, but it would mean a lot to me if maybe every day for 15 minutes we can talk about our days, or that we set a time where, let's say, like, I don't even sleep with my phone anymore in the room, and say, could you maybe after a certain time put like the sleep mode or something on your phone so that we can actually connect? Because I think what you're trying to say is that you want to connect with your partner. So how can you feel connected without feeling disrespected because they are on their phone? Let me see, I have another question here. When having couple time, for example, a trip, is it healthy having conversation about the kids, or is it better to avoid it? It's gonna come up. We didn't say like we're not gonna talk about the kids because we miss the kids. And sometimes we were talking, like, we were in this hotel that had this super amazing like water slides and like kiddie area, and we were like, oh my god, like the kids would have loved this. But we didn't only talk, like, I want to say that we talked about the kids like 20% of the time. Other than that, we talked about us. We had fun. We went dancing. I even said before we left, like, yeah, we're gonna go dancing one night because there was like this club at the hotel. We're gonna go dancing. And we did. We went dancing for like an hour because after that we were falling asleep. But like, we set the tone of the things that we wanted to do. And then we explored other things when we were there that were super fun. So don't force yourself to not talk about the kids. Talk about the kids, but don't only talk about, like, talk about the kids if it comes natural, but make an effort to talk about each other too. And the best way to do it sometimes is, for example, to take a book, to hear a podcast, to like play games, like things like that. Make it fun. Think about like what excited you, when you were dating, and do some of that, because that's the whole point of going just the two of you. Okay? Let me know if that answered the question, because you can't avoid talking about the kids, but try to start a conversation, not always about the kids. Okay, how to break the routine and do something fun without being pushy, meaning so that you don't sound pushy or like you're begging for a fun time. I would say, and this is something that I do in my family's sessions, why don't you start a jar, like literally a jar, and you both write down things that would be fun for you to do, and pick one, of course, depending on how realistic in time and budget you can do so, that maybe once a week, twice a month, once a month, you're gonna get something out and you're gonna commit to doing that one thing so you connect. And so that way it's not pushy, but because the reality is when you're a couple and you have little kids, whether we like it or not, that we're gonna have to schedule these times. For some people that looks like every Wednesday is, date night, rain or shine. For other couples, it looks different. Like when we were on the trip, my husband told me like it's very meaningful to him when I go and watch him do something that he likes, like water sports. And I told him like, but that's not fun to me. And then I said, and I retracted and I said, but I understand how it is very meaningful to you. And so if it is meaningful to you, then let's make it happen. Because if it's meaningful to you, if it's meaningful to you for me to watch you doing something or take pictures or tell you like how amazing you're doing, then I'll go. We just somehow have to make it happen. How to express your feelings with your partner when you know this will lead to a discussion. My partner and I do not validate each other's feelings and opinion. We usually take it the wrong way. Yeah. So this is a multi-level question and answer. Because I would venture to say that you separately have to figure out why it triggers you, why you feel so hurt. Where is that hurt coming from? Is it your spouse triggering you or something underlying? Is it that we also need to work on your self-esteem? Because and I'm hoping, and this goes in general, not only to Daniela asking the question, if you chose each other as a partner, I'm hoping that you chose each other for the right reasons. And I understand that marriage is not easy. I've been married for 8 years and it's not easy. But when you make it about winning and about your ego, it's not gonna go very far. You have to make loving each other a choice every day. And what does that look like? Doing things for each other, praising each other, thanking each other, noticing each other, understanding the other person, understanding their trigger points, understanding what makes them feel loved. Because you were in love in like that lovey-dovey way, but now it's like real life. So how are you gonna make this a partnership? So I can say that you have to talk from the I perspective, but if you still do all of that and your partners or you still feel disrespected and hurt, then that's something that you and each of you have to work on. Because I remember for a long time, and I hope my husband is okay with me sharing this, that sometimes even when I did everything to not hurt him and say the things from an I perspective, he would still feel very hurt. And I'm like, I'm not disregarding all the other things that you've done. I'm very thankful for all of that. However, I still feel this way. And I need you to understand my experience. I need you to understand like how difficult X, Y, and Z is for me. That doesn't mean that I'm, that I'm disregarding or not appreciative of all the other things you've done. It's like 1 + 1 is 2. It's not 3 somehow or -1. Like, what part of the equation is not working here? And so I had to understand, first of all, where he was coming from, and understand like how else could I make him feel important and loved, so that he didn't feel like that I was taking jabs at him whenever I was asking for things, or letting him know that I felt alone, or that, oh my God, like bedtime, or that I didn't appreciate him, that he missed bedtime every night. Okay? Let me know if that makes sense. And if it's not making sense, let me know. But also rewatch this, because again, some of these questions are multi-layered, and it's important that you understand it and that it sinks in, and that maybe you need to hear it a couple of times. But yes, loving each other is a choice, and I didn't make that up. I got it from the book, but also as a marriage therapist, it is true. It is a choice. I am choosing to be with him every day. And if it's not a choice, then why am I still in this? Sometimes I've had to ask couples that are in front of me, like, do you actually love each other? Like, do you respect each other? Why are you together? And I know that's a tough question, but sometimes you do need to ask the tough questions, because that's what's gonna make you say, like, I do love them, or no. Okay, I think I got to all of the questions. Someone else asked me, like, if the kids had been okay while we traveled. So the first night, no, they were not okay. And with that, if you are planning to go on a trip, like, be flexible in that. It doesn't mean that the guilt and that you shouldn't have come and that you will never travel again. Like, allow feelings to exist. Like, it was hard the first night for them, just like it was hard for me to leave. And the third night, I was already missing them a lot, but I was also, like, enjoying myself. So it was like this back and forth of feelings, and just allow feelings to exist. Like, it was not easy the first time. Even the teacher, like, when I went to school on Tuesday, said that my son had a little bit of a hard time, and that's okay. I'm not gonna feel guilty over it. I'm just gonna let it exist. Okay. I think those were the questions. Let me know if there are any other questions, comments. Remember that I'm gonna leave the link for Same Page Parenting in my stories, or you can DM me. It's $67, okay? It's worth for sure way more than that. And it will give you the conversation starters, including with the guide that you can print two, one for you, one for your partner, and you're gonna answer it separately from each other, and then you're gonna come together and discuss it. But after you watch the class with the tips, okay? It is meant for both of you to watch it together. Okay? Now, if your partner does not want to watch it, yes, you can still watch it on your own. Remember, don't wait for the other person to change before you change. How often do you recommend to set a couple time? Weekly. So we do it weekly. However, we don't do it weekly with a nanny and going out and because sometimes we can't, and sometimes we have, that's another thing. It's not that we can't. That's not true. The thing is, we've been having a lot of intentional conversations lately before having a bunch of uncomfortable conversations of other values and other goals that we have as a couple, including even our retirement plan and all of these things. And so because we were looking beyond all of these day-to-day things, we said, okay, this is how it's gonna be. We can't, or we choose, it's not that we can't, we choose to not go out on an actual date, paying a nanny, going to an expensive restaurant weekly, but every Saturday or every Sunday, or I go out and let's say on Thursday we do wine and cheese night, just the two of us, and we go out and we sit in the terrace. So look for creative ways where you can still feel important and connect. And we have a wine and cheese night, and so we do make it weekly, and we do make it a point every day to hold each other's hand, to say I love you, to text each other, to find little ways to feel connected. Okay? That's our relationship, and we have worked very, very hard to understand what will help the other person feel important and valued and not so tired at the end of the day. So couples time or intentional time, yes, it should be as often as possible, and it does not have to be a paid expensive date. Okay? It does not have to be. It can be something simple at home without phones and connecting with each other. Like really talking. Example, I understood that it was very important for my husband, and it took me a long time, but to talk to him about finances in a different way. And I wasn't used to that. So I did a lot of research and I heard a lot of things, and I understood how to start talking to him about this. And now we talk about it a lot. And that makes him feel like so happy that it's worth it for me. That's my point. Like, start doing things that are completely out of your comfort zone, but do it for them. And if they're happy, then you're gonna be happy. Okay? Okay, I'll wait like a minute, half a minute before I log off. I loved being here with you today. Thank you for joining me. I know it's late, okay? And I'm gonna obviously put this in my profile, so if you were here late, you can watch it again. And I'm excited for you to get same page parenting. And for some of the moms that are here that are a part of Mindful Mom Method, thank you so much. I'm also super excited to start Mindful Mom Method again, another round in July. We're gonna start in mid-July. So if you're still not on the wait list, get on that. That is a whole journey just for you, mom. Okay? So definitely, those are the resources that I wanna leave with you today, okay? Have a good night, and I'll make sure to jump over here with another live very soon, okay? Thank you for joining me tonight.